Congresswoman Nancy Mace, member of the House Veterans Affairs Committee, joins us. Congresswoman, a pleasure to have you here in person. If we do not impose a no-fly zone following the bombing of a maternity hospital, I think it's pretty clear we never will. Your reaction?
There's a lot more risk at stake. Closing and having a no-fly zone over Ukraine is going to require hundreds of jets. I admire Poland for trying to step up with the MiGs that they have. They have about 27 that they would like to send to Ukraine, but only about half of those are operable right now, and it would be impossible to close the airspace with those MiG jets. And and that kind of thing could be seen and would be seen as an act of war by Vladimir Putin. And the risk of him right now possibly going nuclear is an enormous risk, and is a serious and grave risk that our military commanders, our leadership, and the White House, I know, are considering and should be considering the consequences of that sort of thing too.
So you say that Poland has, what, 27 MiGs? You say only half of those
about
are
half
operable?
Of those are operable.
So Poland was going to offer Ukraine some broken planes? Is that right?
Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah.
Why would they do that?
Well, we have a surplus of F-16s, and so I don't blame them. I mean, we've got a surplus, and Poland wants better jets, and I think that's a good idea. But to deliver them, take them 1,000 miles out of the way to Ramstein, and then send them into Ukraine doesn't make a whole lot of sense from a military operations standpoint, as opposed to just going straight into Ukraine. And if Ukraine gets a dozen or 2 dozen MiG jets, they cannot withstand the force that Russia has. They have an S-400 on the ground, which is a surface-to-air missile, very close to the Patriot missile system that we have here, and it has a 200-mile radius. It can take out a MiG jet in no time. And you would need an F-35 or F-22s and hundreds of them to actually close the airspace over Ukraine. It's such a large space. Russia does have technology on the ground to shoot planes down. 13 planes, a dozen or 2 dozen, isn't going to make much of a difference.
But isn't it better than nothing? Because right now it looks like Vladimir Putin is escalating and the U.S. is cowering away.
Yeah, but it also would be seen as an escalation of war too. And we have to look at, I think, and weigh the calculations of what that would mean. What will Russia do? I believe he's serious about using nukes and could against us or our allies or NATO members. We have to weigh the benefits of doing that. Is a dozen planes, is it worth that, or are we going to go all in with hundreds of them, right? And so there are consequences. Right now, we just saw the devastating photos of the bombing of that home, the maternity ward. We need to be focused on isolating Russia, crushing Putin economically, but also the humanitarian side of it, ensuring that there are pathways and roads and ways out of there for the millions of people, millions of Ukrainians, women and children, who are stuck and being bombed and killed and murdered to death. I mean, this is a travesty to watch it unfold on Twitter, on TikTok in real time. And as much as I hate social media, that is what is, I think, in part, the public seeing that kind of pressure, the devastating consequences of war. We're acting faster than we otherwise would have.
Got about 30 seconds before we have to hand it on off to Fox and Friends. Do you see another solution for policing the skies in any way, shape, or form?
Not without hundreds of jets. I think our focus should be continuing the sanctions on Russia and really isolating the oligarchy and Putin and making it extremely economically painful for him. That is our best route right now. Otherwise, we're in all-out war. And I think we need to weigh the consequences of that very carefully.
Yeah, I just hope that there's some sort of communication happening behind the scenes with the Biden administration and Vladimir Zelensky and the Ukrainians to provide what a lot of people have called a creative solution to this, because you look at those scenes unfolding like happened at the hospital yesterday. It's just devastating, and you can't believe that in 2022 it's happening on our watch.
And last night, Congress approved $13 billion.
Fox and Friends starts right now.